Viva, water but so much better. Had to have my Viva, water but so much better.
Viva sparkling flavored water, water but better.
In order to maneuver through the COVID-19 pandemic, Trinidad and Tobago as a nation needs to work together in solidarity to support one another. The frontline workers and essential service workers are putting their lives at risk every day in order to ensure that those that are affected have the care that they need, that the virus is contained, and that we are able to access necessities during the quarantine period. As a business built on core family values for the past 95 years, we are honored to provide aid to our brave frontline medical staff who are going above and beyond in these uncertain times. We urge you to do your part as well in whatever way that you can in order to flatten the curve and support one another.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys, and welcome to C Results. I'm Miss Nyla and you are joining me today for English Language Arts. So I just want to say welcome to all our viewers, you at home, and of course our viewers on our live stream on Facebook, that is via the C Results page. So welcome guys, and I hope you are ready for a fun day, or a full day I should say rather, with lots of work prepared. Now as you know, we are just back out with the C Results program, getting you ready for that SEA exam. So how we are going about it, we are looking at practice type papers. So we have already covered all the essential content, right, necessary to get you prepared. And now what we are going to do, we are going to do some extra preparation. So we are going to do as much practice papers as we can. So yesterday we started off with a practice paper in ELA, and today we are going to continue with that. So we know that the paper is broken down into two sections, section 1 being spelling, punctuation, capitalization, and grammar. And then in section 2, we have comprehension, poetry, and your graphic representation. So we just completed section 1, and now we are going to go on to section 2 immediately, right? So today, that's what we are kicking it off with. Now, we already started this yesterday, just the first 2 questions. So what I'm going to do, we are just going to reread the passage so that you remember what the passage is all about before I open the lines to take some calls, right? So in section 2, instructions are simple. We know that this section is actually worth 20 marks. 20 is a lot, right? Try your absolute best, as I said yesterday, to not leave out any specific questions. If anything is giving you problems, leave it out for a second and make sure you hop back to it. And also, most importantly, how you answer your questions. So comprehension skills plays an important role here, not only reading, but understanding and answering your questions properly, right? So we looked at how to answer questions using the stem of the question itself. And as we go back to the questions and answering questions, I'm going to remind you of that once more. So let's read the passage together, and then I'm going to open the lines. It is entitled Shipwreck. As the night wore on, the waves and rain kept taking more of our ship, but we managed to stay in our cabin above water. We searched for what was left of the ship in a panic, finding food and putting together a meal for the family. Just then, Fritz, my oldest son, said, "Father, why don't we find something to make life jackets or float belts, and then we can all swim to shore?" It was a great idea. We found empty flasks and cans that we connected together to make life jackets of sorts and put them on so that we might survive if we were washed overboard. The life jackets wouldn't last for a long swim, but they might give us a moment or two more. We also found matches, knives, rope, and other useful things to carry, just in case. Fritz, Ernest, Jack, and Franz could now sleep on the broken ship, while my wife and I waited up all night watching the storm. Finally, when day came, we saw that the sky had begun to clear. and we woke the boys. They were surprised that the other shipmates had deserted in the lifeboats, but we told them not to fear. But Papa, they cried, what has become of everyone? Are all the sailors gone? Why did they leave us? We should swim to shore now, Fritz interrupted. I think we should build a raft and use that to get there safely, said Ernest. These float belts may not do the trick. First, let's search the rest of the ship to see what we can find, I answered. Let's all meet back here with whatever we think will be useful. So that was a short passage, non-fiction, of course, and we answered the first two questions. I'm just going to recap the questions and the answers, and then we'll go on to the following question. Right? So that first question, what was the weather like in the first paragraph? I give a line from the passage that shows this. Right? A student called and gave a correct answer. Right? Answer was close to this. It was stormy in the first paragraph, as shown in the line. The waves and rain kept taking more of our ship. And the next question, name two useful items the characters found on the ship. And as you are seeing behind me here, after each question, I inserted the paragraph necessary or suitable for that answer. Reason being, it's a bit difficult to have the entire passage all over again. So I just put the relevant part. Students will read and they will answer the question accordingly. Right, so two useful items found were matches, knives, rope, empty flask, cans. Right, so any two of those and you will be awarded your 2 marks. So guys, I'm going to open the line and let's go to number 21. Identify the mood in the beginning of the passage. Why do you think the mood was like this? Right, so the lines are going to be open shortly. You're going to see the numbers on the screen. Feel free to call us and help us complete this passage. Remember, when you are calling us, to lower the volume on your television set, right? And also try your best to answer in complete sentences. And I do have a call on the line. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Good afternoon, Miss.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Javen, Miss.
Hi, Javen. How are you today?
I am fine, Miss.
Okay, Javen. So help us with number 21. I'm going to give you a couple seconds to read it through.
Yes, Miss.
And you can let me know when I can turn to the passage for you, okay?
Yes, Miss. So I've read the question, and I think I want you to go to the passage,
okay,
please.
Great. Javen, just one question before I go to the passage. We learned about earlier, before we went to a break for Ramadan month, we learned about mood and tone of a passage. Do you remember what is the meaning of mood?
I think mood is when the poet writes a passage or poem, and you have to read it, and the mood is how you feel about the poem.
Excellent job. So knowing that is essential to answering that question, right? So I'm going to go to that part of the passage, and then I'll come back to this. So take your time, read it through. Find your answer, and you can tell me when you are ready.
Yes, Miss. So the mood of the first paragraph is despair.
Can you say that again?
Despair.
Distaste.
And the evidence would be as the night wore on, the waves and rain kept taking more of our ship.
Okay, great. I do understand that answer, and that is in fact correct. Your evidence supported by it, right? So thank you so much for calling, Javen.
You're welcome, Miss.
Okay, guys. So before I go on to my answer, of course, your answer here can vary as long as you give the correct supporting details. Of course, your answer also must be as close to possible according to the paragraph, okay? It must reflect that of the paragraph. Now, I just want to go back to mood and tone for a second. And when we are answering questions that ask us about mood and tone, If you don't know what mood is or tone is, then how can you answer that question? And now this is a popular type of question. Questions and passages often ask about mood. So you must know the meaning of it. Right? And if you don't recall, I just have a reminder for you where mood is a feeling or atmosphere that the reader gets when he or she is reading a story. So it's how you feel about the story. Likewise, with tone, tone is a writer's attitude towards the story. And we went a little bit in depth with mood and tone previously. So if you missed that, guys, you know, when you get a chance, go back to our YouTube channel, see results, and look at that video, okay? It's really important, not only for comprehension, but as you know, for poetry as well, right? We often come across questions with mood and tone in poetry. So become familiar with that if you are not already, right? So in the beginning of the passage, the mood is one of panic, right? Because most of the ship and food had been destroyed, right? So if you just go back to the passage here, as the night wore on, the waves and rain kept taking more for our ship, but we managed to stay in our cabin above water, right? So all of that is telling us what? So it's up to you what you make of it. And now if your answer is somewhat of happy or joyful, of one of those that is, you know, furthest from what the paragraph is telling you, that is going to be incorrect. So make sure you read in context, right? Or give your answer in context, I should say rather. So let's go on to the next question. In your own words, explain how the characters made their own life jackets. So let's take this call to help us. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello.
Hi.
Good afternoon, miss.
Hi, good afternoon. Who am I speaking with?
Javen.
Javen. All right, Javen, you're back again. So, Javen, help us. In your own words, explain how the characters made their own life jackets.
Okay, so you could go to the passage, please.
Sure. And it's highlighted for you, that paragraph there where they speak of the life jackets. Are you seeing it?
You could please zoom in. Oh, okay.
Yeah, just give it a second.
So I'll go in to read it, and then I'll go in and put my answer, and then I'll go in and say my answer.
Yes, no problem.
Okay, so I've come up with my answer.
Okay, go ahead.
So the answer how they made life jackets for themselves was they found empty flasks and cans that they connected together to make life jackets of sorts and put them on so they might survive if they were washed overboard.
Okay, don't go anywhere yet, Javen. So I'm just going back to the question here, but just look at the first part of the question where they say, in your own words. So now that you have read what the paragraph is saying about the life jackets, in your own words, tell me in your own words, how did they do it?
So they had to empty flasks and cans that they joined together to create life jackets.
Okay.
And they wore them so that they might stay alive in the event that they were pulled out into the sea.
Okay, very well done, Javen. Thank you so much for calling.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so great job. Just remember to read your questions carefully, guys. And the question did say, in your own words. The characters made their own life jackets by joining empty flasks and cans. As simple as that, okay? They might give us a moment or two, which is on line 9 to 10. Explain what the line suggests about the family's situation. Right, so I'm going to hold on for a call. The lines are open. Call us, help us answer these questions. I do have a call on the line. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Okay, I'm afraid we lost that call. Good evening, caller. Hi, good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Explain what the line suggests about the family's situation. Right, so I'm going to hold on.
Caller, are you there? Okay, and we lost that call as well. Just a reminder, lower the volume on your television set. All right, so I'm going to go ahead with this question until we have another call. They might give us a moment or two. Explain what the line suggests about the family's situation. So, of course, you must go back to that line, reread it, understand what they are telling you. Right? Try to make sense of it. The life jackets wouldn't last for a long swim. but they might give us a moment or two. We also found matches, knives, rope, and other useful things to carry just in case. Right, and we have a call on the line to help us. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello, evening.
Hi, good evening. Who am I speaking with?
This is Jonathan Sinanan.
Hi, Jonathan. Welcome. So I'm going to give you a chance to read the question, and then you can go ahead with your answer, okay?
Okay, miss.
And you can also let me know when you're ready for me to turn to the passage.
Okay, miss. Okay, miss, I can go to the passage, please.
Sure. And it's highlighted for you there.
Okay, miss. Okay, so what I think
Yes.
about the question is that the life jackets that they have made, they are saying that it may not go all the way, but at least it will give them a chance, right?
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay, so that is correct, okay? So,
Okay.
thank you, Jonathan. But there's a little more that we could have added to that question. The line suggests that the family's situation is urgent, right, and time is of essence, so they have no time to waste. They have little chance of survival, just as you said, but will stand a greater chance with the life jackets on. Yeah, so great job, Jonathan. Next question. Write the meaning of the word deserted in line 14. Let's take a call to help us. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello.
Hi, welcome to See Results.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon. Who am I speaking with?
Javen.
Okay, Javen. So I'm going to give another student a chance to call us. Is that okay?
Yes, miss.
Okay, but feel free to call us a little later on. We do appreciate your calls.
Yes, miss.
Okay, thank you. Right, so I'm giving someone else a chance. I know we have lots of callers. So let's just hold on a second. And in the meantime, you at home, read your question carefully. Now, what do you do in a case if you're not sure what is the meaning of the word? Right, you go to your sentence, so you go to your passage, you locate that word in the sentence, read the entire sentence or surrounding sentences, and make sense of it. Right, so for example, they want to know the meaning of the word deserted, but you're not sure. So you go to the passage, they were surprised that the other shipmates had deserted in the lifeboats, but we told them not to fear. So you read that, but you're still not sure, how do I infer the meaning? What is the meaning here? Read the next line, guys, it's going to help you. But Papa, they cried, what has become of everyone? Are all the sailors gone? Why did they leave us? And you will notice a little later down, a couple sentences, the meaning is given to you. Right now, it's not always going to be that clear, but if you read your sentences and the supporting details, it's going to help a lot. So from this, what can you say is the meaning of the word deserted? Right, deserted means abandoned, left, or forsaken. In this case also, gone is fine. Right, so any of those will be correct. And we have a call on the line, so let's take that call to help us with number 25. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results.
Good afternoon.
Hi, good evening. Welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Andian.
Nice to have you with us. So can you help us with number 25?
Yes.
Okay, so take some time and read it, and then I will go to that paragraph for you.
Okay. Okay, you can go to the paragraph.
Sure. Are you there, caller? Okay, I think we lost that call, unfortunately, so I'm going to give someone else a chance. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening. Hi, good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Who am I speaking with?
Cristiano.
Nice to have you with us, Cristiano. So I'm just going to go back to that question so you can read it. And then I will turn to the paragraph when you are ready, okay?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay.
No, I just reading the paragraph.
Right? Yes, take your time. All right, so we're looking for a word that means the same as valuable and vacant.
Valuable and vacant, right?
Right, so you can take it one at a time.
Well, if I'm being honest with you, I'm not seeing any words that might mean the same as both either.
Okay, hold on, don't go anywhere, that's fine. Tell me in your own words, right? What does the word vacant mean?
Empty.
Empty, that is correct. So in this paragraph here, are you seeing the word empty?
Yes, I know see it.
Great. And what
Empty.
about valuable? What does valuable mean?
That it's worth something.
Right, and which word here in this paragraph suggests that something worth something?
Well, I'm not seeing any words that might mean words or connected to that.
Okay, what about the word useful?
Yes, well, yeah, that could be valuable.
Right, so valuable might mean something, just as you said, worth something, worthwhile or useful. Right, thanks so much for calling. Okay,
Yes,
guys.
and thanks for reopening the show because I know you stopped for a while.
Yes, we did. We stopped for Ramadan month, fasting month, and we are back here. Happy to be here. Thanks for calling again.
All right, bye.
Okay, bye. Okay, so guys, I just want to remind you all, just as this question here, this is where your vocabulary skills come into play. Now, at the first glance of the paragraph, just like our caller, you may not see a word that stands out to you, which is the answer, right? Go to your knowledge, right, and think about it for yourself. Well, what does the word valuable mean? Or what does the word vacant mean? So as long as you know the actual meaning of those words, it will be easy to locate in the paragraph. You just have to take your time and read it line by line, and I assure you the answer will be right there. Right? So another word for valuable is useful, and vacant is empty. They're also synonyms. Let's move on. How did the children feel when they found out that the shipmates had left? Write a line from the passage that shows this. Let's take a call to help us. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller. Hi, good evening. Welcome to See Results. Okay, we lost that call there. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Okay, the lines are open once more. Feel free to call us, guys. So I'm going to go ahead with this question. All right, so let's go to the part of the passage that talks about this. They were surprised that the other shipmates had deserted in the lifeboats, but we told them not to fear. But Papa, they cried, what has become of everyone? Are all the sailors gone? Why did they leave us? So the question is asking you, how did the children feel when they found out that the shipmates had left? Right? The children were shocked. And which word there in the paragraph that tells you that? The word surprised. Right? So that is fine as well. The children were shocked that the shipmates had left. This is shown in the line. They were surprised that the other shipmates had deserted in the lifeboats. So whichever word that you choose, your adjective there that you choose to describe the children's feeling, make sure that you have the correct supporting details. Let's take this call to help us. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Hello.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Samia.
Nice to have you with us. So can you assist us with number 27?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so take your time, read the question.
Okay. If you could turn to the passage, please.
Which part of the passage would you like me to turn to? I'm just going to go back to this part here, actually, where they talked about the sailors leaving.
Okay. Miss,
Yes.
I think my answer would be, I think they left because they wanted to save their own lives.
Right. And would you have done the same in a similar situation?
No, I wouldn't have.
Why not? This had to explain.
Well, I wouldn't have done it because I would have wanted to save and help the other persons on board.
Okay, great. Thank you for calling and your answer. Right,
Thank
so that
you.
is in fact...
No problem.
Can you repeat that?
No
Okay.
problem, miss.
Okay. Right, the sailors might have left the family because there were not enough lifeboats to take everyone to safety. Right, that is just one answer. Of course, answers can vary here. Additional answer, they could have been scared. Also, food was running out. They wanted to save their own lives. And no, I would not have done the same because the family might have drowned in the ship during the storm. Right, so that's what might have happened if you left them behind. Of course, if you said yes, you have to give a justification for your answer. An appropriate justification for your answer, I should say. And this last question, what kind of person do you think Fritz is? Write one detail that shows this. Let's take this call to help us. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Alice.
Hi, welcome to the show. So tell me, what kind of person do you think Fritz is?
I'm sorry, but I can't see the question right now.
Okay, just give it...
Now I can see it.
Okay, take your time. Tell me when you're ready for me to turn to the passage.
Yes, sir. Yes, miss, I would like you to
Okay,
turn the passage, please.
right. So this is just one detail about Fritz, and I can turn to another when you are ready.
Yes, okay, miss.
Should I turn to the other detail about Fritz?
No, miss, I'm now seeing the passage on my
Okay.
screen here.
Okay.
Yes, miss.
All right, so I'm just going to go to the other detail. So from reading those details about Fritz, what kind of person do you think Fritz is?
I think he is a brave person.
A brave person. All right, so I'm just going to go back to the question there and write one detail that shows this. Which detail would you write to support your answer there?
The detail is, we should swim to shore now.
Okay, great. Right, so despite the storm, he is ready to swim to shore. Okay, thank you so much for calling. Right, of course, swimming to shore was when the skies had become clear, but still, right, he was ready. Fritz is a quick thinking or practical person also brave, determined, persistent, maybe even eager, right? He came up with the idea of making life jackets, and he urged others to start swimming to shore since he knew time was of the essence. So I have the two details here. Either of them is actually correct. So that brings us to the end of our comprehension passage, and we are now going to turn to poetry, right? So we're still in section 2, which is the latter half of the paper, and we are on task 5. So we are nearing the end of the exam, right? So read the poem, A Bird Came Down the Walk, and answer questions 29 to 38, right? So instructions for poetry and comprehension are quite similar in that you have to read and understand and, of course, answer in complete sentences. So let's read the poem, and then I'll take some calls to assist with the questions. A Bird Came Down the Walk by Emily Dickinson. A bird came down the walk he did not know I saw. He bit an angleworm in halves and ate the fellow raw. And then he drank some dew from a convenient grass, and then hopped sidewise to the wall to let a beetle pass. He glanced down. He glanced with rapid eyes that hurried all around. They looked like frightened beads, I thought. Then he stirred his velvet head. Like one in danger, cautious, I offered him a crumb, and he unrolled his feathers and rode softly home. Right? And just remember, when you are doing your poetry, in your own space and your time, ensure that you read your poem more than once, even if you think you understand what you have read on the first reading, right? That's really important. You can miss simple things like description or figurative language, or a rhyming pattern or any of those things, so just be mindful of that, right? You want to get all details in your mind and clear. So this first question, name 2 things that the bird consumed, right? Let's take this call to help us. Good evening, welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Good evening.
Hi, welcome to See
Good evening.
Results. Good evening, who am I speaking with?
Kenyon Edwards.
Nice to have you with us. So tell us, name 2 things that the bird consumed.
The bird consumed an angleworm.
Right, that's one.
And drank some dew from
Excellent.
a convenient grass.
Excellent job. Thank you so much for your call. So that answer is, of course, correct. And the bird ate an angleworm, just as the caller said, and also drank some dew. Of course, we know the meaning of the word consume, to eat, drink, or ingest. Next question. Identify an example of a simile. What are the 2 things being compared? All right, let's take this call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello.
Hi, good evening, caller.
Good afternoon.
Hi, is this Javen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Javen. So I want you to tell me, first of all, what is a simile?
What a simile is a comparison between 2 things using like or as.
Great. So now that you know that, can you give us the answer for this question?
Okay, you can go back to the poem, please, ma'am.
Sure.
Okay, I'll read it.
Yes.
So one is, he glanced with rapid eyes that all looked around. They looked like frightened beads. And the next one is...
Well, okay, go ahead.
And the next one is... let's see. So, then he stood his velvet head like one in danger.
All right. Is that a simile?
Yes, miss.
Why is that?
Because the poem states that the bird stood its velvet head like one in danger.
Okay, so they're comparing his head.
And that's it.
All right, okay. I just want to go back to the question a second. So they want you to only identify one example, okay? They said an example. So the first one would have been fine. And what are the two things being compared? So which one are you going to go with?
The one that I will go with is the rapid eyes and the frightened beads.
Okay, great job. Thank you, Javen.
You're welcome, miss.
Right, so that answer is in fact correct. He glanced with rapid eyes. They look like frightened beads. In this simile, the bird's eyes are compared to beads, just as the question asks. So make sure that you are specific with your answers. Write two words or phrases that the speaker uses to describe the bird's appearance. We have a caller on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, who am I speaking with?
Kenyon.
Nice to have you with us. So, do you need a second to read the question before I turn to the poem?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Two words used the speaker uses to describe the bird's appearance
Yes.
are okay.
Can you see the poem?
Velvet head,
Yes. Velvet head
and
and...
find another one.
Can you repeat that?
I can't find another one.
All right, look at that same paragraph. Look at that same paragraph closely and you will find it.
They look like frightened beads.
Well, that is part of it actually, but I was more leading towards rapid eyes. Okay, because this here is the simile or the comparison to the eyes. Do you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for calling. Right, just remember if you're having difficulty with a question such as this, you only got one of the answers. Just skip over, but make sure you come back to it. Look at your poem 2, 3, 4 times, as many as you wish, and you will get the answer. So 2 words or phrases that the speaker uses to describe the bird's appearance: rapid eyes and velvet head. Write 2 words from the poem that rhyme with the word claw. Right, and this one should be easy enough, easy 2 marks. Let's take a call. Good evening, welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Hello.
Hi, welcome to See Results.
Hi, miss.
Hi, who am I speaking with?
Sonia.
Okay, so help us. I want 2 rhyming words, or 2 words that rhymes with the word claw.
Okay. Okay. Miss, 2 words that rhyme with claw are saw and raw.
Great job. Easy enough, right?
Pardon?
Easy enough, right?
Yes, miss.
Okay, thanks for calling. Right, so saw and raw. Explain the meaning of the line, a convenient grass. So this one requires a bit of thinking. So, right, so let's see if this caller can help us. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Who am I speaking with?
This is Jonathan Sinanan again.
So, great, Jonathan. So, explain the meaning of the line, a convenient grass.
Okay, Miss Chip, will go back to the Pacific.
Sure.
Okay, Miss.
Go ahead.
So, I think what is meant by that is he took a sip of dew from a grass that had. I kind of get in trouble with this one, so I try and use me.
Take your time. Try to word it.
Okay.
That's fine. What does the word convenient mean? Are you there, Jonathan?
Hello, yes.
Okay, what does the word convenient mean?
Suitable.
Suitable. All right, try something else. Another synonym. Something a little closer to the meaning.
Okay.
If I say I will go to the parlor next door to me instead of San Fernando because it is convenient.
Oh, yes.
What am I
yes.
saying?
Oh, okay. A horse. I think I got it.
All right, go ahead and try.
So, the bird drank the dew of the grass that had the most dew, well, water.
All right, not only the most, but probably one that was easy for him to reach or was nearby, okay?
Yes, okay, miss.
All right, Jonathan, thanks for trying.
Yeah, some trouble on that.
That's fine, right? So, how can you approach this question, guys? It's a bit tricky, so try to think about the meaning of the word convenient, right, as you know it, and insert it in the sentence or the meaning here, right? So, the line, a convenient grass means the blade of grass. You don't have to say the blade of grass, right? But the blade of grass from which the bird drank the dew was nearby and easy for him to reach. So, as he was walking down the path, there probably was, a low bush or a low blade of grass, and it was easy for him to reach, right? It was right in front of him, right? Therefore, it was convenient. So that's a bit of a tricky question. Let's take this one. Identify one synonym in the poem for each of the following: uncooked and weary. All right, let's take a call to help us. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Good evening, caller.
Hello.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
You're
Nice to have you with us. So, first of all, can you tell me what is a synonym?
A synonym is a word opposite to meaning.
So, what is an antonym then? Okay, very sorry we lost that call. Right, let's take another one. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Good evening, caller.
Good evening.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Jaden.
Hi, Jaden. So tell me, first question, what is a synonym?
A synonym is a word that is similar to meaning to another word.
Okay, great job, right? So synonyms are words similar in meaning. So identify one synonym in the poem for each of the following. So uncooked and weary. So let's go to the poem. First word, uncooked. Take your time.
Raw.
Right, and what about weary? What do you think the word weary means?
I'm not sure.
Okay, if I say the boy was wary because he was in an unknown, unknown street. He's wary of danger. The boy was wary of danger because he was in an unknown street.
Cautious.
Very good. Excellent job. Cautious, right?
Yeah.
Great job. Thank you so much for calling, Jaden.
Yep.
All right, guys, so some of us, we need to brush up on our vocabulary skills. It always plays an important role, especially in comprehension and poetry. And not to mention, of course, creative writing. In your own words, describe the bird's actions in stanza 3. What feeling do these actions show? Let's take this call to help us. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Okay, I lost that call there. All right, so I'm going to go on with this answer. Describe the bird's actions in stanza 3 and what feeling do these actions show. So let's just go back to stanza 3 a moment, reread it, and then we can take it into our own hands. He glanced with rapid eyes that hurried all around. They looked like frightened beads, I thought. Then he stirred his velvet head. Right, so in stanza 3, the bird looked swiftly around, thus turning his head. His actions show that he was feeling uneasy. Right? Maybe he was frightened and wanted to get out of that walkway. And why is that? I just want to mention because here in your following stanza it said, like one in danger, cautious, I offered him a crumb. So someone here or someone is there close to the bird, right? So making him uneasy. That is what I mean by uneasy. Let's take this call. Okay, and we lost that one there. Explain what happens in stanza 4 using your own words. So again, we have to go back to the poem, read the stanza, and then explain it to our own words. Like one in danger, cautious, I offered him a crumb, and he unrolled his feathers and rode softly home. Right? In stanza 4, the speaker offers the bird a crumb, and the bird flies away. As simple as that. Right, that's all that happened in stanza 4. What action does the speaker compare the birds flying to? And we have a call on the line. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello?
Hi, welcome to See Results. Who am I speaking with?
Javen.
So, Javen, what action does the speaker compare the birds flying to?
Okay, you could go back to the poem, please.
Sure.
Okay, I'll go into...
Which line there tells us that the bird flew away?
Oh, in stanza 4, yes, miss. The bird flew away. So then... so the bird's feathers were compared to...
Well, not the feathers, but the flying, actually, right? The question says, what action does the speaker compare the birds flying to? Right? So which line, first of all, talks about flying?
The first line in stanza 4?
Like one in danger, cautious?
Yes, miss.
Okay, so that is incorrect. That actually does not tell us about flying. Try again. That same paragraph or stanza.
Or the fourth line and the fourth stanza.
Right, and rode softly home. So what does he compare the birds flying to?
The poet compares the birds flying to rowing softly home.
To rowing softly
home.
Or just rowing, right? So that's actually correct. Right, thanks for calling again. So
yes,
you're welcome. The speaker compares the birds flying to rowing. Final question for poetry. Why do you think the bird is cautious in stanza 4? And we have a call on the line. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Good evening.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Jaden again.
Hi, Jaden. Why do you think the bird is cautious in stanza 4?
Because he thought he was going to get attacked.
Can you repeat that, please?
Because he thought he was going to get attacked.
Yes. Right? He thought that he was probably going to get attacked. That is correct. Thanks for calling.
You're welcome.
Right? So someone was there. The bird is cautious because it may have sensed the speaker observing it, and it may think that the speaker is a predator, thus being attacked, of course. Okay, guys, I'm just going to take a short break. And when we come back, we are going to complete this paper. We still have our graphic to do, so stay tuned with us. We'll be right back.
We care about our heroes on the front line in our hospitals who are going above and beyond the call of duty. We salute their dedication and wish to extend our appreciation for their service. We also recognize the vulnerable in our society and provide support to those in need by introducing a label fundraising initiative in partnership with Oasis Water. Everyone can do their part by joining the fight with the simple act of purchasing an Oasis Water with a specially marked red label. Every purchase will go towards contributing to a product donation fund delivered directly to the frontline staff in our hospitals through the charitable organizations that we have aligned with. Our product donation will be used in the preparation of food hampers that will be distributed to the many families and communities in need who have been severely impacted by this crisis. A little bit goes a long way in this fight. Sip and support today. Help us contribute to those who have given so much back to us through their work on the front line. Lend of your support as we provide food relief to those families and communities in need. Learn more about this Oasis Cares initiative at www.myoasiswater.com.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys, and welcome back to See Results. I'm Ms. Naila, and we are currently completing our English Language Arts paper. So just before the break, we completed the comprehension passage and poetry, and now we are moving on to the last task in section 2, which is the graphic. So the instructions read the flyer and answer questions 39 to 43. This task is actually with 10 marks, and might I add 10 easy marks. Right, so all the answers are usually on the flyer or advertisement given. Right, if you are asked an inferential question, I assure you it just requires a little bit of thinking. So let's go ahead and read this flyer. Bina's Boutique, special offer, up to 70% off, July 23rd to July 30th. Dresses, shirts, jeans, jackets. 101 Clare Street, East Veronica, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So when we were just learning about interpreting graphic representations, I told you all to pay close attention to all details given on a flyer or advertisement or whichever in front of you. Reason being, for a flyer such as this, each and every detail given has some significance, right? It's not by chance that we have a picture of a dress here or a headless person in a shirt and a pants. There is a reason for that. Or even something that you may not be thinking of, such as the font, right? Look at the font of the title of the flyer, right? Look at the font to the middle here. Why is it like that? Then the font changes lower down. And even you're paying attention to the border, right? If there's a border, if there isn't a border, color scheme, size of the font, all of that is very important. So whenever you are on your graphic, pay attention to each detail, right? Do not neglect anything that is here or not there that you think should be. Let's go to questions. All right, using information on the flyer, answer the following questions. What type of items will be on sale? Where can one find the items being offered? So we're going to open up the lines and call us once more and help us to complete these questions for your graphic. And we have a call on the line. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, are you there, caller?
Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Who am I speaking with?
Juliana.
Hi, Juliana. So welcome. So what type of items will be on sale?
Can you go back to the graphic, please?
Sure.
So the first question.
Yes.
Can you go back to the question?
Yes. So what type of items will be on sale? And then we'll come back to the second part. So what type of items do you think is going to be on sale?
The type of items that are going to be on sale are dresses, shirts, jeans, and jackets.
Great. And where can one find the items being offered?
One can find the items being offered at 101 Clare Street, East Veronica.
Right. Do you want to add any other details to that last part of it?
At Bina's Boutique.
Excellent job. Thank you so much for calling.
You're welcome.
Right, so clothing will be on sale also, just as our caller said, if they specify dresses, shirts, pants, etc. That is fine as well. And one can find the items in Bina's Boutique at 101 Clare Street, East Veronica. Right, as simple as that. Straightforward, actually. Name 2 items that will be on sale. Now, you may think that this question here is just similar to the one previously. Now, it only differs because we said what type of items when they specifically asked, right, when they said what type of items, meaning clothing, right? Also, just as I pointed out, if you had jeans and jackets and so on, that is also correct. So this question here, when they now ask, name 2 items that will be on sale, here you can get a little more specific. So if you repeat that answer and you go ahead and you say, dresses, shirts, jeans, or jackets, given any of those 2, that is also correct, right? So I just gave you that answer. So I'm going to move on to the next question. How many days will the offer last? Give one possible reason for it lasting more than 1 day, right? And we have a caller to help us. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello, evening.
Hi, good evening. Who am I speaking with?
This is Jonathan Sananan.
Hi, Jonathan. So how many days will the offer last?
Can Mr. go back to the flyer, please?
Sure.
The offer will last up to 7 days.
Are you sure it's 7? Count it.
Okay, miss. Sorry, 8 days.
8 days, right? So that's very easy for us to get confused with that, right? And second part,
Yes.
give one possible reason for it lasting more than 1 day.
Okay. One possible reason for it lasting more than 1 day is because people, not many people, may have visited the store or shop.
Yes, that is actually correct, right? Thank you,
Yes.
Jonathan. Right, so
No
the
problem.
The offer will last for 8 days. Ensure that you count those days, guys. Right? This isn't just mathematics where we take for granted 30, take away 23, and so on, right? So count it. It might last for more than 1 day to give customers more chances to visit the store, right? Or any reason appropriate or suitable to this flyer. Is this a regular bargain? Use information from the flyer to support your answer. All right, let's take this call to help us. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller. Are you there?
Hello?
Hi, good evening. Who am I speaking with?
Javen.
So, Javen, you have been our top caller today, so congratulations. So,
Thank
go ahead
you.
and help me with this question. Is this a regular bargain? My first question to you, what does the word bargain mean?
Huh?
What does the word bargain mean?
Like a bargain is sort of like a sale where you get stuff for cheaper.
Right, and which word can we replace that phrase with? All of which you just said. Starts with D.
Discount.
A deal. A deal, right? Right, so is this a regular bargain? Use information from the flyer to support your answer. So is it?
You could go back to the graphic, please.
Yeah.
This is not a regular bargain
Why?
because usually bargains are for less percent off.
Okay, but just going back to the question here, use information from the flyer to support your answer. So does the flyer tell you that it's different?
No.
Are you sure?
With the special offer part.
Exactly. So that's what we are actually focusing on, right? Because it said to use information from the flyer to help you there. So because the flyer says special offer, suggests that is not a regular bargain.
Regular bargain.
Right? So thank you.
You're welcome, miss.
Right. So no, this is not a regular bargain since the phrase special offer is printed on the poster. Final question to wrap up this paper. Do you think there should be a contact number on the flyer? Give a reason for your answer. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results.
Good evening.
Hi. Who am I speaking with?
Jaden again.
Jaden. So Jaden, do you think there should be a contact number on the flyer? Give a reason for your answer.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead and explain.
So if you want to find out if they have something in stock before you come, you could call to find out.
All right. Try answering a complete sentence.
You can have a phone number in case you want to find out something before you come to purchase.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for calling. Your answer is correct. Right, guys? So just keep on the back of your mind when you're answering. You should practice answering complete sentences. Sometimes we often write as we speak. Do you think there should be a contact number on the flyer? And how can you answer that? Is either yes or no? And in this case, yes, I think there should be a contact number on the flyer. Right? Just as our last caller said, in case persons would like further directions or information to the store to know if a particular item is in stock. Right? So that brings us to the end of our first, well, not first, but first for this season, part of the season that we are completing. So SCA practice papers. So next day for English language arts, we are going to be starting another paper. Now, we are not quite finished for today. I'm just going to take a break, and when we come back, you will be joining me for our first creative writing session for this week. So stay tuned with us, guys. We have lots more coming up.
We care about our heroes on the front line in our hospitals who are going above and beyond the call of duty. We salute their dedication and wish to extend our appreciation for their service. We also recognize the vulnerable in our society and provide support to those in need by introducing a label fundraising initiative in partnership with Oasis Water.
Everyone can do their part by joining the fight with the simple act of purchasing an Oasis water with a specially marked red label. Every purchase will go towards contributing to a product donation fund delivered directly to the frontline staff in our hospitals through the charitable organizations that we have aligned with. Our product donation will be used in the preparation of food hampers that will be distributed to the many families and communities in need who have been severely impacted by this crisis. A little bit goes a long way in this fight. Sip and support today. Help us contribute to those who have given so much back to us through their work on the front line. Lend of your support as we provide food relief to those families and communities in need. Learn more about this Oasis Cares initiative at www.myoasiswater.com.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all-purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
Shopping on the website at shopsmj.com is tailor-made to be accessible and easy to use. It's especially helpful in these trying times, but it's also a time saver in general. They have impeccable customer service with a fully equipped online team of friendly and efficient staff who are more than happy to assist. The delivery service is also reliable and punctual. The ordering process couldn't be made simpler. Just visit the shopsmj.com website, create a username and password, select the products you wish to order, and wait for the delivery drop-off. It's simple, it's easy, and relevant for the times. Please remember to stay safe and stay home by taking advantage of this great online delivery service.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys, and welcome back to See Results. If you're just joining us, I'm Ms. Naila, and you are now going to be joining us for creative writing. So creative writing, what are we about to do? So last season, what we basically did, we completed content for both narrative writing and expository writing. Now we know that for the SE exam, we are tested either on the narrative or the expository. So we have been spending quite a lot of time getting you prepared for that. Now, what we are going to do today, however, we are going to do a crash course essentially on narrative writing, meaning that we are going to do some recapping. Now, there are lots of information for us to go through and to recap and to refresh our minds about narrative writing. Yes, we know how to write a story, but sometimes we forget and leave out little details that help improve or create high-quality writing. Right now, that's essentially what we want to do, because we want to earn a maximum of 20 marks in our writing. Now, later on this week, we are going to try to do some expository writing. So I know a lot of you struggle a bit with the reports, but don't worry, we are going to go back, revisit some of those things that are trouble areas, so to speak, and we'll help you as best as we can. For narrative writing, what we usually do, and for expository, we usually read students' pieces. So students submit on our Edmodo class. And yes, our new viewers, we have an Edmodo class, so visit www.edmodo.com. A little bit of information about this will be given at the end of the program, and also on your screen now you'll see our class code. Feel free to join our class. This week currently we have already given a narrative writing essay assignment. So complete that, guys, because you know that your work will be featured on the show, at least some of it, as much pieces as we can possibly get in there. What we do, we read it out to the audience and we critique it, okay? And sometimes we even go as far to give you a mark. And in fact, we do give marks on the Edmodo class itself. But when we are on the program, we just critique your work. So we are going to go ahead and recap narrative writing. Narrative writing is actually quite a lot of work, right? So that's why I'm calling it a crash course, because we covered this already, and I just want to revisit some of these things here, refresh your minds before we go back into reading pieces. It will help you to understand everything that is needed. Also with the rubric here, for narrative writing and expository writing, the same rubric is actually used. What differs is actually the criteria. Now, last time we went in depth with our rubric, understanding our rubric, and that is what we are going to do first. We are going to understand the rubric properly. Reason being, once you understand the rubric, you will understand your shortcomings in your writing. You're going to understand better, well, what do I need to have in content? What is my marker looking for? How am I going to earn 5 marks, right? What I am seeing language use on my rubric, but what does that mean? Sometimes your teacher gives you a mark for organization, but what really is my teacher looking for when your teacher says organization? Grammar mechanics, you have to understand what is also meant by those terms. So once you understand in detail about the criteria itself, that will help you to improve your writing. Right? Just a reminder to some of the new parents and students, of course, with your rubric, right? In each one of these criterion here, you can earn a maximum of 5 marks. 5 marks simply means exemplary. What does exemplary means? That you exceed the standard in your level of writing. So in each of the criterion, you will notice there are 4 different criterion: content, language use, organization, grammar, mechanics. In each of those, you are trying your best to earn 5 marks. And what does that give you? A total of 20. So 20 is the total for both narrative and expository type writing. I'm going to show you how you can earn that 20 marks. Right? So let's elaborate a little bit further in our rubric. So content, that first criterion in your rubric. So what do you mean, or what do I mean by content? What am I looking for? How can I earn that 5 marks? Right? How much work should I put in to get 5 marks? In your content, we are looking at the elements of a story. Now, elements of a story isn't just knowing the elements, right? You have to know how to discuss, how to go further, right? How to go in depth. What are the things they're looking for? So, for example, within elements, we have setting, character, and then you have your plot, right? A little later on, I'm going to discuss elements of a story, but I just wanted to share with you in content, what am I looking for? So this is how you're going to earn that 5 marks once you have the elements of your story, right? So ensure that you know what they are and how to go about it. I just want to mention, you are seeing setting here and characters. When we were doing narrative writing in detail, we look very in depth at both setting and characters. Now, what do I mean by that? For setting, for example, I gave you quite a number of examples of different settings and how to explain them, even phrases and sentences that you can use in your own writing. So, for example, a setting of a forest, a cave, probably even a desert. All of those things were examples given on the show. Similarly, with characters, we looked at different characters, how you can describe the features on a character. For example, physical appearance, right? How you can describe somebody's hair and teeth and nails, and all of those things are things we looked at, even as far as nose, eyes, ears, right? So some of these things we don't even think to describe in our characters, but we did it, right? And we looked at characters, friendly characters, mean characters, scary characters, characters that make you nervous, shiver, all of those things, right? So please go back to our videos when we just started narrative writing. We have quite a couple videos on narrative writing actually, and look at them, right? You don't want to miss any of those descriptions given. And plot. In your plot, couple things you must know. And what are they? Right? You must know about exposition, rise in action, climax, fall in action, and resolution. I'm just going to remind you guys a little bit about that a little later on. Right? Just in case you forget, for example, well, what is the rise in action in narrative writing? How do I get to rise in action? Right? The second criterion in your rubric, language use. What does language use entail? Actually, language use speaks to descriptive and figurative language. So you must know that in your writing, how can you earn that 5 marks? You must use descriptive language, figurative language, and sensory details. Right? If by now you're not sure of some of your figurative language, you should take some time and catch up on that. Right? That's really important to improve and enhance your writing. What about organization? Your third criterion on your rubric, right? So organization is all about sequencing the plot, right? The structure that does not appear to be jumbled to the reader, right? So your sequence, how you go about, right? The events, how it is laid out. Make sure that it is in a specific order. The reader must understand what is being read. Also, they are looking at, so this is how you're getting that 5 marks for organization. The sequencing of the plot, so the order in which your ideas are laid out, right? They are looking for clearly defined paragraphs. Now, what do I mean by clearly defined paragraphs? That actually refers to that indent, right? That helps us differentiate between paragraphs. It helps us not only tell where a paragraph begins, but also introduces new ideas. And then your transitions. So transitions, another key aspect in your writing, right? Transitional words and phrases can be quite tricky simply because there are certain transition words that we use for narrative, and then there are ones that we use specifically for expository writing. For narrative writing, it's a little bit more free, and you have a little more room to work with your transitions, right? So ensure that you have all of this in order to get 5 marks for organization. And then grammar mechanics, last on your rubric, right? So grammar mechanics entails parts of speech. So your 8 different parts of speech, how you use it, pay attention to subject-verb agreement, also punctuation, capitalization, spelling. Now I want to pause for a second because you are seeing punctuation, capitalization, and spelling. Now where does this intertwine with? And actually this is where we see ELA, the first part of the ELA paper that we just completed yesterday, right, being intertwined with your creative writing. So that's why it's very important that you master that first section. So it's not only going to help you to earn total marks in that section 1 in ELA paper, it's also going to help you earn 5 marks for grammar mechanics in your creative writing paper, right? So pay attention to that. So now that we basically understand the rubric and how the rubric is divided and how the marks are shared, we are going to just recap some of the topics that we covered so far in narrative writing. Right? So I have several topics here that I thought, what were the key components in narrative writing, how to write or how to get a good essay, how do you arrive, all right, at a high quality essay. This is how we are going to do it. So when we just initially started, we started at the very basic, right? So the first thing we looked at types of sentences and sentence structures. Then we went on to paragraph writing, transitional words, descriptive and figurative language. We have story starters and ways to end a story also, the writing process and elements of a story. So these 7 key components, I'm just going to elaborate a bit on it. And that's how we're going to spend our time today, refreshing our minds about sentence types or even paragraphs. So if, for example, you are having difficulty with ways to start a story, I'm going to invite you, to look at a couple ways that we shared previously that, that will help you to start your story, right? So all of these are key and important when writing a narrative piece or any piece as a matter of fact, right? You have to know what an essay entails. So types of sentences. Types of sentences actually is simple, right? You may think, I know what the different types of sentences are, but they look for the different types of sentences in your content. And how is that? Because it's simply looking at the body of your essay, right? The entire essay, right? So your sentences, if they are the same throughout your writing, then how is your story going to sound to the reader? Is somebody going to be interested? Are they going to be intrigued? Do you think they will be hooked for the entire reading of that essay? Right? So that is the idea behind your sentences, your different types of sentences. Using different types of sentences is actually called varied types. Right? So we have simple or declarative sentence. We have command or imperative, question or interrogative sentences, and exclamatory sentences. If you are not quite sure about any of these sentence types, for instance, interrogative sentence, you don't use them in your essay, maybe you can revisit one of our videos when we just started, and I will just tell you that that was back in November. So that's a key if you're looking at our videos on Facebook, where to look. On YouTube, it's a bit easier. We labeled all of our videos. So for example, on YouTube, you will see in our search bar, you will see types of sentences, right, as one of the footnotes for our videos. So it'll be easy for you to find. So if you don't use interrogative sentences in your essay, never had, now is probably a good time to try it out, right? Try your best to vary your sentence types. Next, we have sentence structures. Now, you may think, well, what is sentence types? And then you have sentence structures. How are they different? Actually, because we have simple sentences, compound sentences, and complex sentences. So we know that you can have a simple sentence, but how can I make that into a compound sentence? What do I need to do, right? How is it different from a complex sentence? So just a reminder, a simple sentence contains a subject and a predicate. As simple as that. As simple as I like ice cream, right? And then we have a compound sentence. Contain two or more independent clauses. Clauses are joined by coordinating conjunctions, right? So in your compound sentences, how can you form that if you're wondering? Maybe you do, but you're not quite familiar with the term. Fanboys here helps us to form compound sentences. Now you're asking yourself, oh, I wonder how many of you, viewers from earlier on remember what does fanboys actually stand for, right, in terms of coordinating conjunctions. It actually, for and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. So maybe that was a reminder to you. I do hope that you keep that to the back of your mind. We often write or need to write compound sentences. So if you're one of those students, you have difficulty, extending your sentences then, right? You don't know how to go about extending your sentences. This is one way. You can use conjunctions, a little more specific, coordinating conjunctions to elaborate on that. Or even with complex sentences which contain an independent clause and a dependent clause. And we know that dependent clauses begin with a subordinating conjunction, right? So you can use coordinating or subordinating conjunctions to help you extend your sentences. Now with subordinating conjunctions, we know those are a bit different, and you have to be mindful that they are dependent clauses. And with dependent clauses, there are certain punctuation marks that we also need to know, right? So I know it's a bit, a lot of information for you, especially if it's the first time that you're hearing it, but I am doing it this way just because when we move on to our practice pieces, when we are reading students' pieces, you have all of this in the back of your mind. You know to yourself, well, I am familiar with the rubric. I know what I should have in each of the different criterion, right? So you have to be very mindful of that. Next, we are going to talk about paragraphs. Now, if you notice, we actually moved in a sequential order. So it's like we were building on what our essay or leading up to our essay. So we started with very simple or basic, simple sentences, not simple sentences, but sentences, structures and types, and then paragraph writing. Paragraph writing can be very tricky for a lot of students even at this stage. So you need to master paragraph writing before you can actually write an essay. But I know for the essay students at this point in time, I am hoping that you all probably not mastered 100%, but you are very close to that in your writing, that you do know how to form a proper paragraph, right? In paragraph writing, there are certain things that you must know. For example, indenting, and this is where we were speaking about a little while ago, right, that you need to indent in order for us to identify where your paragraph begins or where a new idea begins, right? We cannot skip lines between paragraphs, we know that. Use a finger space after each sentence, right? Punctuate and use capital letters where necessary. And I don't need to mention, but I will. Please try your best to write as neatly as you can, right? Now, what is more important with paragraph writing, right, is how you analyze a paragraph or knowing what a paragraph consists of. And what does a paragraph consist of? Can you answer that question at this moment in time? And I do hope that you know. A paragraph sentence must have a main idea, supporting details, and a concluding sentence. Only thing that is optional there is your concluding sentence. May not always have a concluding sentence, but you must have a main idea and supporting details, right? A main idea may be given at the beginning of the paragraph. It may not be given at the beginning of the paragraph, but you must have that. So if after you have written your paragraph and you cannot analyze your own paragraph, then something is wrong. You cannot tell what is the main idea and the supporting details. Sometimes you're writing a paragraph and you get stuck on the third sentence. You don't know where to go from there. How can you go from there? How can you create details? How can you make your sentences more interesting? How can you elaborate on your sentences? And to extend sentences, we did an exercise where you can use relative pronouns, you can use adverbs or even adjectives, right, to build on your sentences and to create details. And then again, we also spoke about irrelevant details. So yes, you are writing your paragraph. Yes, you are making it a little longer, but interesting. Try to stay away from irrelevant details, okay? That is only going to make us stray from the main idea. And we want to refrain from that, right? Also, another point with paragraphs is that the topic and the concluding sentence must match, or they must tie your paragraph together, okay? So keep that to the back of your mind. So moving on, what is next? And actually that is transition words, right? So we know transitional words and phrases. So we just kept it to words because we can use those words to create phrases. What is important is knowing those transitions. In transitions, or knowing how to use transitional words, right? So we know that transitions, of course, are used to connect one idea to the other, thus making your writing smooth or having a smooth flow, right? That is really important and critical. We'll look at that very closely, right? There are specific ones, just as I mentioned, for narrative and for expository. When we learned about transitional words, we learned about transitions, that show addition. So addition of information, right? Transitions to compare and contrast, to indicate time, to indicate an example, right? To indicate cause and effect, to summarize and to conclude. Here, I only have the different types of transitional words that we looked at, right? But when we went and when we were learning about transitional words, we gave an entire list for each one of these, right? So if you go back to those lists, for each type of transitional words listed here, you will find at least 10. So from that 10, you learn 2 from each, you are good to go, right? No need to worry. What is important, you don't need to memorize all of them, but you do need to know some of them and when to use them. So transitions can be very tricky. Yes, you can say that you're using a transition here, but is your transitional word appropriate? That is what is very important, right? Using the appropriate transitional words suitably. So keep that use of transitional words suitable, right? Know that you should use transitional words when it's necessary, and don't overuse. That's another point. Don't overuse transitional words, right? So yes, you want to use them, but you have to know how and when to use your transitional words. And of course, like I said, you can transition those transitional words into transitional phrases, right? So you have options. Okay, so just before I go on with what we have been discussing about narrative writing and what you should know about narrative writing, We're just going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're actually going to continue. So we're going to take a break for the Maghrib Adhan, and when we come back, we're just going to continue to our narrative writing crash course, guys. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys, and welcome back to See Results. I'm Miss Nyla, and we're on to our creative writing session for today. And we are currently looking at narrative style writing. So just before the break, I told you guys that we were just doing a crash course basically in narrative writing. And what does that mean? That just simply means that we are going through the main topics essential for knowing how to write a good or a great essay, right? So far we spoke a little bit about sentences, types of sentences, paragraphs, and then transitions, right, or transitional words. Now, also, in addition, we also need descriptive language and figurative language. Just as we saw in our rubric, going back to language use, where we need sensory details, your figurative and descriptive language. So all of that is really important, right, in setting the mood for your story. Now, with descriptive language, you have to know what are the 5 senses, or what are your 5 senses, and know how to use it, right? So you should know that your 5 senses include touch, smell, taste, hearing, and sight. And how can you use that 5 senses to bring your story to life, or to give a little meaning to your story, right? You have to know how to use them in sentences or formulate sentences using your descriptive language. Now, descriptive language is as equally important as figurative language. Now, figurative language is what gets a little bit tricky for students. So yes, you need to know it not only for your writing, but just as we completed our ELA comprehension and poetry, we saw figurative language is also a part of that, right? Questions frequently come based on those, or on figurative language. So we know that figures of speech, it's the use of words and phrases to show some comparison, emphasis, and exaggeration, right? So how does that make our story come to life? Can you think about it, right? What would your story sound like if you did not use any figurative language? Will it be quite as interesting, right? So we did give a couple examples a while ago with figurative language. So paragraphs, with and without, and how to differentiate between the different types of figurative language. Now, also important is knowing which figurative language you need to know at this stage for SEA. And that actually includes, right, knowing what a simile is, a metaphor, personification, onomatopoeia, and hyperbole, right? These are the different figurative language or devices that we looked at closely when we were focusing on language use. So we know that a simile is a comparison of 2 unlike things using like or as, right? A metaphor. So a simile is quite, that's quite familiar to us. We frequently use those. What about a metaphor? We know that's also a comparison of 2 unlike things, but without using like or as. Now, those are the common ones. But what about the use of personification? A figurative language technique where an object or idea is given human characteristics or qualities. Can you think of an example of personification right now? Right? If you don't know what personification is, well, after having read that definition, but you cannot come up with an example, then you need to do some revision, because I am very sure that at some point in time you learned about your different figurative language. Now, personification is another common one that we find in poetry. So become familiar if you aren't already. What about onomatopoeia? Right, also known as sound words, is a word or group of words that when spoken aloud imitates the sound it produces. Right, so in onomatopoeia is great to use at the start of a story. Right, so when we get to story starters, you can see how you can use that there. Hyperbole, a figurative expression where exaggeration is used to create a strong effect. Right, so out of these 5 here, hyperbole is probably the least common, but you still should be aware of it, right? What if a question comes and you have to identify an example of hyperbole, right? So, practice upon these figurative language and try to master them, right? Try to identify them in your writing. Try to use it in your writing more importantly, right? It really helps with the quality of your work. So, and here we are with ways to start a story. Now, I'm going to show you roughly about 10 different ways, that you can use to start a story, or what we call story starters. Now, when we were doing this, of course, we looked at examples. So I gave you like 2 examples for each. So for example, when I say begin with an attention-grabbing sentence, I'm speaking about, using a catchphrase, or using a catch sentence, or making your hook very interesting, right? That the reader immediately wants to stay glued to that paper. They want to go on reading. That's what we mean by begin with an attention-grabbing sentence. Also, you can use a question, right? The interrogative questions, right? This is where it comes into play. Exclamation. Use the flashback technique. What is the flashback technique, right? So you talk about something that happened in the past. Reminisce on a memory, something like that. Arouse suspense and interest, right? Maybe probably a story about, a thriller, right? Something scary, something of that sort. And what about vivid description of setting? So this one here I actually like. A lot of students use this, right? They always begin with a nice setting, right? Going into detail about the sun and the clouds and the trees and, their feeling, right? Creates a mood for your entire story. Paints a picture of what your story may be about. Dialogue, right? Dialogue is also a great way to start story, right? So conversation, you can't really go wrong with a conversation. Also, you should know with dialogue comes dialogue tags. In your writing, when you are having conversation or a dialogue, you should know that you should vary your dialogue tags. Now, what do I mean by dialogue tags? We are referring to when he said, I just said it actually. So said, words like said, asked, queried, inquired, exclaimed, all of those are what we refer to as dialogue tags. Now, sometimes students stick to one, right? So constantly or throughout their writing, you will say he asked or she asked or they asked, right? There are many different words that you can use in place of that word asked, right? So you can just Google it, or you can, of course, go to a video for more examples. Sound effects. Just as I said with onomatopoeia, right? So, for example, you can say buzz, right? And you can have about 6 Z's after the word buzz, and that is fine. You use your exclamation marks, you use your inverted commas, right? That was the sound of your alarm, or you were awakened by your alarm, something like that along those lines, right? That's one way you can use sound effects in your writing. An interesting fact, right? So this, number 9, actually, an interesting fact, may not come into play right now, probably at this stage in SEA. Some of you, sometimes because with stories, we tend to make up ideas, right? So something that's unreal. But later on, if you have enough knowledge about something, or if you just enjoy writing stories, short stories as a hobby, and you read a lot, you have lots of information, you can start off your story with an interesting fact, right? And that's always that always piques the interest of the reader. So it's always great to read a story and learn something from it. And then use of proverbs, right? So at the end of a story, we learn something. You give an inspirational quote, right? A popular saying, something to live by, right? So those are just some ways you can, of course, use or follow to start your story. If you are still unclear about, for example, an interesting fact or vivid description of setting, you're not sure what I mean by that, even after my short explanation here, when you go back to the video on this, actually, you will see further examples, right? So I gave like a couple of sentences about ways, not only ways, but example of the way that you can use to start that story. So next, the other important component of narrative writing. So now we are drawing closer to the actual writing of a story, right? So far we covered the basics, so probably from infants to about standard 3, and now this is our standard 3 here. You are using the writing process, right? So before we get started with the writing process, you should know, how a story is formed or what it entails. So that is your introduction, your body, and your conclusion, right? So of course we know that, but how are we going to arrive at the introduction, the body, and the conclusion, right? This is where the writing process comes into play. So you're just learning how to write a story, right? Or you're going back for revision purposes. The writing process is really going to help you guys, and I do hope that at some point you did use the writing process, especially when we were learning about it, to help better your essays. So the writing process includes the pre-writing stage, drafting, revision, editing, and publication stage. But you shouldn't just be able to call out the stages. You should be able to tell all right? Tell yourself, what is the pre-writing stage? You're given a topic, and you know you want to start it. You don't know where you should start, right? Pre-writing is a good way to go. So you go and you find whichever pre-writing method is best for you. There are a couple pre-writing methods that we came across, and you choose one. You pick a topic and you start brainstorming ideas, right? So some tips when you're pre-writing: think about what you want to say, find the main idea, and use a list or a web to organize your ideas. So those are just two of the methods that you can use for pre-writing. Now with pre-writing, it's easy for you to just take a pencil, a paper, draw out your graphic and map out your ideas. That's always a great place to start, especially if you are stuck early on. You don't know where to begin with your topic. Start jotting down some ideas and it's going to come to you. So that's your first stage. After the pre-writing, you have your drafting stage. So you actually start writing. So your drafting is your first writing. So you have your first draft, your first writing, or first map out of your story. And after you are finished with your draft, so that's just your first writing, like I said, you put down your ideas, and then you go and you improve on those ideas, right? So that's where your revision comes into play. So you want to make that draft better. You read it to yourself, you give your parents to read, your cousin, your friend, whoever, right? And then, you know, it comes to mind after you read a sentence, well, you know, I could have inserted this here, or maybe I should take out this detail, it doesn't make complete sense. This is revision part, or the revision stage of the writing process, where we make it better, right? So reread what you have written. Rearrange words or sentences. Feel free to play around with those. Change the order of your paragraphs if necessary. So when I say change the order, make sure it is sequential, right? Remember, going back to your rubric, 5 marks is awarded for organization, right? So, and sequencing has a role to play in that. Make sure there are smooth transitions between paragraphs, include new ideas, adjust previous ones, and omit irrelevant details, which we spoke about as well, right? And replace overused words with stronger word choices. So sometimes we use the word beautiful about 5 times in our writing, right? There are 5 different synonyms or more for the word beautiful, right? So try that. So, and also with, just as I said, dialogue tags, improve on those as well. Your next stage after revision will be editing or proofreading, right? So be sure all sentences are complete. You're looking at spelling, capitalization, grammar, punctuation. This here, alone, this point, is your 5 marks, right, in your rubric. Change words that are not used correctly. Have someone else check your work if necessary, right, or if it's available to you. So far with your writing process, you have been learning, you know, how to improve at each level. At each stage, something is going to change. And if something is not changing, then you are not using the writing process correctly. The entire idea behind the writing process is for change and to improve and to make it better. And finally, the last stage in your writing process will be publication. Publication meaning that is your final submission. You have nothing left to change. You read it 5 times and you are satisfied. You are satisfied because it is the best work that you have done. If at the back of your mind, your teacher gave you an assignment to complete and you read it over and you know, well, something is missing here, but you are feeling lazy, then that's not your best work. At this point in time, guys, where it's so close to SEA, you can't afford, all right, to skip out on those few marks. Now we arrive at the elements of a story. Just as we saw at the very beginning when we were looking at the rubric, the very first criterion actually was content. And what content entailed was actually the elements of a story. Now, why are the elements of a story necessary? Right? It is necessary because this is how you are going to form the structure of your essay, right? Your setting and your characters, like I said, we did lots of description, quite in detail about setting and characters. We spent quite some time focusing on that because, like I said, students often miss the opportunity to create a beautiful setting or some interesting characters, right? So get in tune with those and make sure that you perfect them. Moving on to your plot. Your plot in your writing or your essay is what is going to truly bring out your essay, right? right? This is where the marks are. We have your exposition. The beginning exposition meaning the beginning of the story where characters and setting are introduced, right? So it's like giving a bit of background information there, setting the pace for your story. Then your rise in action. Rise in action is where the main character faces a series of conflicts. So these are the events leading up to the climax of your story. And the climax being the most exciting part of the story where we learn the outcome. And then the fall in action, events leading to the end of the story and your resolution, which is actually the end of the story, right? How something was resolved. Now, we're showing the resolution rather with feelings and talking about the entire situation. Now, when we were looking at the plot of a story, and just as you are seeing here, laid out nicely for you, step by step, we gave an example. So we used a short story, and we identified the exposition. We looked at the rise in action. We looked at the climax, so the peak of your story, the fall in action, and the resolution, right? So using an example, so for example, use your own work. Take the same diagram. Identify the exposition in your story. See if there's a rise in action. See if you have enough information about the rise in action. What about the climax of the story? Remember the climax being the most exciting part. Where do you think is the climax in your story? And did you do justice to the climax, right? And the fall in action, the steps leading down to the end of the story. So you can use your own work as an example, right, using the same diagram. And this same information, the elements of a story. So look at your setting, look at your characters. And even better than this, you can use the rubric, because now that you have identified the 4 criteria and you went in depth about each criterion and knowing what they consist of and how it can be used, how you should focus on it, you know, specifically what is meant by each. Therefore, you can give yourself a mark, right? But it will be nice if you have someone there to assist with that, just, you know, in case of bias. Right? And finally, at the end of narrative writing, we looked at ways to end the story. So just as we had story starters, we had some similar ones and examples, of course, with each how to end the story. So again, you can use a question, you can give a word of advice, right? A moral or a lesson learned, a cliffhanger, right? Leave your readers at the edge of their seat, leave them in suspense, a thought or feeling, thinking of the future, something pondering, and dialogue or quote, right? So those are 7 ways that you can use. Well, of course, you have choices that you can use to end a story. So now, do you have an excuse when you are given a topic and you are writing and you don't know how to start? You absolutely don't. You have 10 ways or 10 options to choose from. You are at the end of a story and you don't know how to end. That's not an excuse either. You have 7 different ways to choose from, right? So you have lots of information at your possession, at your feet, right? It's available to you. It's available to you on our YouTube channel. It's available on our Facebook page. So feel free, guys. Don't let this extra time that we have been given, you know, go to waste. You know, when that exam comes, you sit there and you think, you know, oh my God, I had 5 months home and I did nothing with that time, right? We are not going to let that happen because we have lots of work for you. So when we come back on Thursday, let me just add, we have mathematics and creative writing. We are going to use all the information here that we just recapped to analyze a piece, right? So we're going to look at narrative writing and how we can use the rubric to assess a piece. And all along we have been doing that. Now that is a benefit, a great benefit to you students and parents, of course, because I know parents often learn a lot from this, how they can help their child and the students so they can focus a little bit more on areas of weakness. So I just want to go, okay. So on our screen, you will see the code for our Edmodo class, right? Edmodo, let me just tell you guys, Edmodo is our online class that we have been using since last November. And we have been posting quizzes weekly for mathematics, ELA, and creative writing. all the stuff or quizzes that we post are based on the week's work. So we post quizzes, students are allowed to take the quiz, and a mark is awarded for each quiz. So it's a great way for them to monitor their progress, and of course you parents to monitor your child's progress. So Edmodo is a great forum, a great learning community, a great way to exchange ideas, thoughts, right, to learn from each other. So I invite you guys to join our Edmodo class. Just be reminded that we have an upcoming quiz already this week, which is creative writing. So take full advantage of that. Have your creative writing essay submitted. We have a narrative piece this week, so submit them, let us mark it, and stay tuned next week for next week's show when we showcase your work. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, See Results, that is, and go through our videos. We have over 100 hours of content already there for you. So click on any of those videos and, you know, let that benefit you. And even better than that, on Facebook, we have these videos also available to you. So check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and our YouTube channel. So guys, that's about it for today. Stay tuned with us coming Thursday for Mathematics with Sir Jazz and, of course, Creative Writing with me. It has been my pleasure being in your company, and I do look forward to seeing you guys on Thursday. Do have a great evening. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening.